Welcome back to Management Development Unlocked. I am thrilled that you are here. I am Eric Girard, CEO of Girard Training Solutions, a management development firm that focuses on helping new managers transform high-performing individual contributors to great people managers. I also have an Amazon #1 best-selling book called Lead Like a Pro, The Essential Guide to New Managers. Today, I am charmed to have Phyllis Quinlan with me. Phyllis, welcome to the show. Who are you and what do you do?
Thank you, Eric. I've been looking forward to speaking with you. So I am Phyllis Quinlan, the president and CEO of MFW Consultants. It is a consulting firm, multi-service consulting firm. My background is nursing. I have been a nurse for 40 some odd years. I've practiced in clinical areas, education areas, and administrative areas, but I'm also a professional coach, and I've been a professional coach certified by the Coaching Federation for the better part of 20 years. So I have weaved that into my consulting firm. I specialize in helping leaders create healthy work environments and also building the sense of resilience and well-being in staff by working with emotional intelligence and the principles of healthy work environments.
Wow. Well, you are speaking my love language with emotional intelligence. Because that is something that I talk about a lot, the whole idea of empathy in management. So I think we're going to have a fantastic talk.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. So our topic today is creating and sustaining healthy work environments. And I've got a number of questions for you on this. You ready?
I am.
All right, let's do it. So let's begin with your thoughts on what makes a healthy workplace.
So I am very much a person who believes in everything is top down. So I really want to start with the sense of an emotional intelligent leader, someone who has done the personal work of emotional intelligence and understands that they have to lean into developing the competencies of their individual self-awareness and self-management before they have the audacity to think that they can lead another person through the competencies of social awareness and relationship management. So I talk about, really having healthy, grounded, emotional, intelligent leaders that can champion a culture of civility and champion those things that will help to create environments where the most talented professionals we have ever had in the workplace now can thrive.
You just mentioned civility, so I want to go deep on that. Tell me what you mean by civility and why is that an issue?
So most of the thought leaders that are out there that are speaking about healthy workplaces, healthy work environments, will speak about, communication, collaboration, adequate staffing, authentic leadership, putting the joy back in the workplace. I'm referencing Christina Maslock, the Critical Care Nurses Association, the IHI, which is the Institute for Health Improvement. They have put some wonderful work out there talking about healthy workplaces. I think, though, that if you can have all of those things, great communication, good collaboration, and so forth, you're not going to be able to sustain it if you are still putting up with or turning a blind eye to the disruptive behaviors of bullying and incivility, which unfortunately we know lives. We wish to God it didn't. And we are often perplexed at how to effectively address it and manage it.
Can you give an example of what incivility looks like in the workplace?
It's an easy one. So someone who's chronically uncivil is that person who you work with, that if they called in sick that day and you even had to work short, you're going to have a better day because they're not there. Mm-hmm. These are the folks that just suck all the joy out of the workplace. They can't get out of their own way. They're chronically late. They're chronically complaining. It's always drama, drama, drama. They are distracting you every which way. And at the end of the day, you have to finish their work for them. So best they stay at home taking a sick day. You're going to have a better day, even though you're working short. It's that soul who has the low emotional intelligence of just not being able to conduct themselves in an adult-like manner in the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you for clearing that up. Now that we know who we're dealing with, let's talk a little bit about what elements go into creating and sustaining a healthy workplace?
So, there are the elements of creating a culture of civility. And, I think that one of the important new concepts that's out there really is talking about moving away from the concept of a paid employee to the concept of a citizen of an organization. And this might be a little odd for some of our baby boomers or even Generation X's, to start thinking in terms of citizenship as opposed to employee. But boy, does it speak to the Gen Zs. They want to belong to something greater than themselves. And they want their employment, their gifts, their talents at the end of the day to shift something in a very positive direction. That's not to say that every generation doesn't want that. It is to say that most generations don't necessarily think in that manner, but the Gen Z seem to have that written on their DNA. So I really would love the whole idea of saying, instead of offering someone employment, I would say, I'd like to offer you citizenship in my department. I think you could add a magic ingredient. I think we could be better for your participation in the department, that you would lend us your talents, your gifts, your insights, your humanity. And we would welcome you in that. And then, a couple of 6 months, couple of months down the road, let's just say that person has a moment where they're less than what they'd like to be, and you need to do some just-in-time coaching. You can use that language then to go up to that person and say, what happened there? And let that person explain and say, so you do realize that behavior is not consistent with citizenship on the department. So let me know what I can do to support you, or let me know what you're doing to support yourself in switching that up so you don't get triggered next time.
That is a great story. That's a great example. I appreciate that very much. So I like the whole idea of citizenship in a department. That's unique. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, the idea that it really comes out of, I thought about this pre-COVID, but it really the COVID experience anchored it for me, where, we came together to defeat something that was out to get us, for sure. But we came together in a manner that I found unprecedented, and that it really did demonstrate that we are greater than the sum of our parts, that there is something greater when we come together. And I think we felt like a citizen of the planet in trying to beat back COVID. And that's really what anchored this whole idea of citizenship being far more meaningful and far more precious than employment. Therefore, you want to, when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we want to promote those concepts to enhance somebody's sense of belonging. Well, belonging to what? Belonging to a payroll? Belonging to what? So if we're going to really lean into the whole idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion, then it should be belonging to something greater than ourselves, which is all of us, which is a culture and a citizenship and a culture of civility.
I love it. And that reminds me of Dan Pink's classic book, Drive, where he talks about autonomy, mastery, and purpose, which is where I see this intersecting. And that whole idea of coming together to do something big, something that matters. To use Steve Jobs's phrase, to put a ding in the universe. So, yeah. Exactly.
And I think if we can find a way, now my niche, of course, is healthcare, being a nurse and a coach in a healthcare organization. But I think we've come to a time in the 21st century that the issue of healthcare, the 360-degree issue of healthcare, clinical, social, financial, it's far too big for one discipline to manage or for one discipline to lead. It's time for all of us to join hands and lead it from an interprofessional standpoint, so that, again, there is no hierarchy. There is a level playing field with all people participating to the highest level of their ability to participate, and it's respected and encouraged as such.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Let's pivot a little bit and kind of go back a little bit. We talked a little bit about somebody who's uncivil, and just because, I'm going to throw bullying in there. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between someone who is a bully and someone who is chronically uncivil, because we're going to dig a little deeper into these things.
Right. So when I speak about bullying, I really reference a bully in the workplace, let's say again of healthcare, which is my niche, as a narcissist with a certification or license. And when you think about the personality, the profile of a bully, it comports itself, unfortunately, with the personality or the profile of a narcissist. So these are people who, for some reason, engage in abusive behavior. They engage in behavior that is belittling, threatening, demeaning, and somehow that gives them something back. But that's what encourages them to keep doing that. People feel very threatened around a bully. The bully may have power or perceived power, meaning it being a department head or someone of authoritative status. The bully doesn't necessarily have to be that. In some organizations, the newer nurses are somewhat, or newer employees are somewhat bullied by some of the more entrenched people who very much want everything to stay status quo. Don't come in here with any of your new ideas and new ways of doing things. We're going to tell you how this is going to be done. So, the thing to understand between the difference between someone who's chronically uncivil and someone who's a bully is the whole idea of intended abuse. And it's the bully is engaging in the use of power, where the person who's chronically uncivil is just really struggling under the burden of low emotional intelligence. They can't get out of their own way. They are no threat to you. They are aggravating, annoying, and disruptive in that manner. But there's no threatening behavior to you, where an actual bully narcissist is trying to demonstrate to you that I am the person in power, that you are powerless, and that you will do my bidding unless you want to have my wrath.
Oh, this is actually triggering me a little bit because I live next door to a bully in California, and it got so bad that we wound up taking out a restraining order. Yeah, it was pretty awful, and we just finally it came to a point where I just looked at my wife and said, "We have to move. We have to get out of here."
Yeah. So if you're the employee, that's exactly the decision. I can't do this anymore. I have to leave.
Mm-hmm. And that's
so they're either going to transfer within the hospital or they're going to leave the organization altogether. That seems to be the easiest way to remedy the situation in that person's mind. And again, I put the onus of that at the feet of executive leadership, human resources, and management for not leaning in and putting their arms around the issue of this disruptive behavior and creating a healthier workplace where people have psychological safety and a sense of citizenship.
Mm-hmm. And there we are with citizenship again. You've got to be a good citizen in the workplace to get the good work done. You've got to get along and adhere to some rules. Yeah, love it. Well, why is it so challenging for managers and leaders to get their arms around these behaviors? I'm thinking that there may be some listeners right now who are faced with having to arbitrate disagreements between a bully and somebody else. Why is that so hard?
Well, the first thing I want to say to any of your listeners that might be in a staff position or even a middle management position, if you have or you suspect you have an actual bully on your unit, and you can speak to that and give instances and of course examples of what's going on and what you've tried to do to remediate that. If you don't have the buy-in of executive leadership, human resources, and management, don't proceed. Because the manner and the approach of someone who is a narcissist is such that they are very, very good at pitting people. They polarize people and pit people against one another. They portray themselves as a victim. They use dysfunctional communications such as plausible deniability and gaslighting to misrepresent the facts and switch it around to you are bullying them, and then you wind up exiting the organization and ruining your reputation, and that bully stays. So if you don't have the coordinated effort and game plan, again, of executive leadership, human resources, and management, don't proceed. You will invite trouble.
Okay. So what do you do? How do you?
Right. So that's why I say, a lot of my my mission and purpose in raising awareness around this is to really, speak to executive leadership, human resources, and management, and saying, well, if we're not going to have a healthy workplace now, when are we? I think it's the leadership imperative of the 21st century. Mm-hmm. I think that people are far stronger now post-COVID than they ever thought they could be. I know people want to talk about burnout, but that's not what I'm hearing from the people I speak to, coach, or interact with. What I'm hearing is people are stronger than they ever thought they could be, which means that they're not going to tolerate what they used to tolerate. That translates into recruitment issues, that translates into retention issues, and so on. So, when you're having trouble, recruiting the best, and if you're lucky enough to recruit the best, you better have an environment that's going to support the best. That person who is your best example of where you want your practice or your department to go is not going to come in and put up with the nonsense of a narcissist or someone who's chronically uncivil. So we need to tool up and understand how narcissists work. We need to be able to lean into those kinds of disruptive and aberrant behaviors so that we can understand what we're seeing and understand what we're feeling so that we're not going to play into that. We're going to have a unified plan, an alignment, again, between human resources, executive leadership, and the leader to say, well, we're going to hold this person accountable, mm-hmm. and then we're going to train them. So if you want anything, any kind of initiative to address disruptive behavior to have teeth, you will hold someone accountable, and then you will try to remediate. You will try to offer them an opportunity to level up, to have insight. So we're going to hold someone accountable. We're going to send them for training. We're going to do some just-in-time coaching. We're going to give them a performance improvement plan. You're going to do all of these things. And with someone who's chronically uncivil, you actually may see improvement over time because, again, it's growing their emotional intelligence. That's the issue. Mm-hmm. But if you're dealing with an actual bully narcissist, you're going through the motions because they're not you can't remediate a narcissist. The idea of changing your behavior and improving is based on something that needs improving. You identify that you do need to change, and a narcissist doesn't have that capacity. They think the world should comport to them. They don't need to change. They're wonderful. They're perfect. How come you can't see this? Mm. So what you need to do is just document, that you brought their behavior to their attention yet again, and we're going to do this intervention, whether it's education or whatever, and then something else happens and we're going to do more education and we're going to see if there's another training program, anger management, something we can send you to. And then we are just going to do the paperwork, the documentation of incident, and then discipline followed by remediation and guidance in appealing to you to change your behavior. And when you cannot do that over time, we should have an airtight case to terminate your behavior.
Yeah, and that goes to what I talk about in my courses, which is you've got to document. When you're offering feedback, when you're offering coaching, start documenting early and often so that if something gets out of hand, you've got a paper trail. I was in a situation once where I was promoted over my team, and my manager said, "Okay, congratulations, you're the manager of the team. By the way, so-and-so has a problem, and I want him gone." Okay, where's the paper trail? There is none. You have to start. You have to start one.
That is so typical. Oh. I've gone into organizations and everybody knows who the people with the strong personalities are. And you look into their, say, well, can you show me some of the documentation or performance or even annual evaluations? And there's nothing there. Mm-hmm. There's absolutely nothing there. Because again, we're not schooled in how to intervene in those things or how to document those things. It's a real lacking in our leadership development piece, unless you are, especially in healthcare, among some of our blessed, colleagues in behavioral health, you don't want to deal with behavior. You want everybody to get along, work it out among yourselves. How come you just can't get into step? Or you want to, you're going to fall prey to some of the manipulative pieces of a bully. So one of the things that we have to be careful of with narcissists is that they have predator qualities in the sense that they can be extremely charming. I've never met a narcissist that wasn't very, very smart, very, very talented, and in some ways a little beguiling. so they can kind of mesmerize you. And they will tell you exactly what you want to hear. And they're laughing on the inside because you're falling for it and they're blowing smoke at you the entire time. But you also have to understand that they will ingratiate themselves to you because they base their relationships on usefulness, not on connection, human connection. It's usefulness. So in order to come up the pecking order of a unit or a department, they will be the smartest and the most capable, which means that when you're gone, more than likely you're going to put them in charge, or you're going to put them in charge of all your orientees for people who are coming through orientation, which is exactly what you don't want to be doing. Okay. And then they put the thought in your head that if you actually do something and this person exits your department or exits your organization, that things will crumble from within because you won't be able to take a vacation. Who's going to be in charge when you're not here? You're not going to be able to orient anybody. I'm the one who does all the. In other words, you will overlook my abusive behavior because you need me to run your department. It is classic manipulation by a narcissist. You need me more than I need you. Therefore, you will give me a pass, overlook all my indiscretions. And people do.
Wow. Well, that sounds like fun.
The other part of that in healthcare is that we all believe at some point that we can cure a rainy day. So that, you see somebody who is engaging in abusive behavior and you think if you just try a little bit harder, you can appeal to their higher nature. And at some point the sun's coming out and the angels are going to sing and they're going to see the light and they are laughing at you. Worse yet, your entire staff is laughing at you because they know this more than you know it. You're trying to be a hero, a healer, and all you're doing is extending the finish line and playing into their hands.
Yep. So again, document early and often, folks. Write it down. Yeah. Let's talk about your book. Tell us all about it.
So it really is, the book came from an invitation from the American Organization of Perioperative Nurses, AORN. I am the professional career coach for AORN and have been since 2012. And I was invited to go on a 10-city tour with what they call their Nursing Executive Leadership Institute. So I went to Cleveland, I went to Seattle, I went to Orlando, I was here in New York. I went to 10 different cities and spoke to executive leaderships in the perioperative world. And we were talking about the issue of chronic incivility and bullying. And really some of the insights that came out of that, coupled with work I have done myself and then work I have done over the years of coaching, and of course my own 40-plus year career, is the essence of the book. So what the book shares is it's not just a treatise on we have a problem. It is how do you assess and understand what is a bully versus someone who's chronically uncivil. What are some of the key behavioral differences that you will see? And it also stresses how the performance improvement plan will be different, and also is very clear on what expectations can be. So you are working with someone who is uncivil, and we spoke about the characteristics of someone uncivil. We also said documentation is important, but I also said you can remediate someone if you have the time, the resources, and the money. You can invest in working with that person, and hopefully over time you can potentially have, a very valued, high-functioning member of your department, citizen of your department. But when you're working with a bully, you have to understand that that's not possible, and that you are going to make every good faith effort for them to understand that their behavior is problematic and that their behavior can no longer be tolerated. One of the key assessment findings you'll find with a bully is that they leapfrog. So if you have somebody who's really disruptive, it's important to understand that they're not going to go through middle management because they see middle management as beneath them. After all, you're just middle management. I will go talk to the department head or the executive director because I'm that important. And of course, I need to speak to someone equally important. So those leapfrogging behaviors are some key features, and those are things that you can put your documentation around. The use of plausible deniability, where you're actually saying, yeah, I said those things, but I was just trying to kid you. I was just trying to do this. You're misinterpreting it. You're taking it the wrong way. Why are you trying to make me the victim? I was just trying to kid you and welcome you and make you feel like one of the team. And again, plausible deniability. So, and then of course, gaslighting, where you're actually, the person is saying this is white and you're convincing them, or they're trying to convince you, no, it's black, it's black, it's black. Until you question your own judgment. So if you're not really schooled in understanding how a narcissist, aka bully, works, then you don't have a prayer of being able to put in a performance improvement plan, or understanding that once you put in a 100-day performance improvement plan, you're going to have to change your behavior a little bit. You cannot have an open door policy, because one of the other things that a narcissist will do is nag you, trying to convince you you're wrong, give me one more chance, considering that all abusive behavior is cyclical. Just like domestic violence, just like child abuse, just like elder abuse, there's an event, then there's remorse, there's over-solicitation, there's irritability, there's another event. That will never change. And you need to understand that despite promises that are empty, and despite all these manipulations and victimizations, and I don't understand why you don't care for me anymore, what did I ever do to you? You stay the course. You do the self-care needed. You are the champion of your staff, not the champion of the bully. And you really keep human resource and executive leadership informed, so that at the end of the day, if the person leaves on their own or is invited to leave by the organization, that you don't invite litigation, or you don't, if you have to go to mediation, that it's actually airtight. You have everything in the jacket that's actually needed to sustain whatever your decision was. So you can say, here's what happened, here's what we did, here's how we appealed to them, they did it again. And that's really what a mediator wants to hear, that you worked with this person and gave them every opportunity to see the light over time. You didn't have to make sure they saw the light, but you had to give them and support the opportunity for them to see the light. And once you do that, you can have an airtight case for termination. You're going to need more documentation over time, depending on how long the person's been with the organization.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. This isn't something we talk about a lot on this show, so this is a different tack for sure.
Yeah, I really want to give them the book speaks to, really giving them something tangible to do, an outline to follow, and not just restate the obvious problem that we all know we're trying to labor under.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. Well, Phyllis, it's time to wind down. Thank you so much for an enlightening conversation. How can people find you if they want to learn more?
I think the easiest way is connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay, so Phyllis Quinlan on LinkedIn, and then we can connect, and of course we can messenger back and forth. But I also invite you to go to my website, mfwconsultants.com, michaelfrankwilliamconsultants.com, or to reach out to me at mfw@gmail.com.
Perfect. That'll all be in the show notes, so it'll be easy for folks to find. Great. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to the show and connect with me on LinkedIn. Pick up my book, Lead Like a Pro, The Essential Guide for New Managers, available on Amazon. And if you email me at eric@gerardtrainingsolutions.com, I'll put you in a drawing for a free copy. If you'd like to chat about how I can help you or your new managers, please drop me a line via my website, gerardtrainingsolutions.com. We will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.